Hey, how's everybody doing? Welcome back to Asshat Podcast on YouTube. Now, what we got here is, it's kind of a obscure DVD. This is Into the Pit, the shocking story of Deadpit.com. This was put out by, it says on here somewhere, Rusty Robot Productions. In 2009 is when it was filmed. I don't think it hit DVD to like 2011, 2010. Somewhere, it was before I managed to get access to broadband internet where I live, which was 2012. With Deadpit.com. Or Deadpit Radio, was a horror podcast. It's still kind of around, but two main guys, which is Creepy Kentucky and Uncle Bill here, who I've talked about them before on some of these other Deadpit DVDs, have kind of quit doing it. I've heard multiple reasons. I've heard, for a while that Uncle Bill quit because he had a kid. He was busy with his life. So CK, Creepy Kentucky, and Brian, this other guy, Steve something, who... I'll give Steve this. Every other show I've heard him on, like he's been guest on a bunch of other horror podcasts. Let's do. He's entertaining on them. On Deadpit, he's boring as fuck. But this was documentary. His crew came down and filmed them. And was just getting the story about how this two guys in bumfuck Kentucky, Pikesville, Prestersburg, something like that, Kentucky, had what at one time was probably one of the most popular horror podcasts out there. Of course, that was many years ago now. The show went officially dead 2013, I think it was, maybe 2014, and then it's come back. They've done a few episodes, and I really think that when this finally came out, it cost them a lot of fans, because you got to see behind the scenes how much of an asshole Creepy Kentucky and Wes Vance actually is. Like, there's a scene in here where it's the night of their recording, they're interviewing somebody, I can't remember who it was, and Uncle Bill couldn't be there, because Uncle Bill at the time was going through his exit exams for college. He was at the time studying to be a substance abuse counselor, which is a great profession. I think he still does that for a living, I'm not sure. And CK's pissed off because he can't be there. It's like, motherfucker, he's trying to better himself, whereas, at the time CK, every job he'd ever had was something his daddy had got him. It's just a bunch of shit. Now, this DVD, let's go into the details here. There really isn't. There's a few extras. I don't think this sold that well, because when it first came out, if they put it out when it first was being talked about and got finished, it probably because Deadpit was so popular. By the time it came out, it was $20 for the DVD and then $10 for shipping. And I actually had Rusty Robot argue me before, no, it wasn't $10 for shipping, and I sent them a copy of my invoice. $10 for fucking shipping, and this is not my original copy. This is my third copy of this movie. My original copy, and it is, let's see, it's a pressed DVD. My original copy came in a fucking mailer, not even a bubble mailer, a fucking mailer, and it had like $1.50 marked on it for postage. They soaked you on that. Well, I'll just go into the story how I got so many copies. Okay. When I first ordered it, I was on dial-up, as I said. As I got through hitting the order button, my internet cut out. So I wasn't sure if it went through, so I went and did it again. And at the time, I did not have a credit card. I was using my mother's credit card. Well, she never got charged. Never got charged. Like a month later, I got 2 copies then. So I turned around, took one. I'm sorry, it was $15 plus $10 shipping. I'm sorry. So I took one and sold one copy to another person I knew that listened to the show for $15. So I had one copy. Well, then about sometime last year, I'm not exactly sure when, Cody LL, if y'all were on the Deadpit forums, you'll know who I'm talking about. He was one of their biggest fans. He just got fed up with Deadpit. Deadpit just pulled all kinds of shit. CK's one of these guys where if you know something that'll piss you off, he'll keep on doing it over and over just to fuck with you. And I really believe, and they showed pictures of videos of CK was showing, he's always been fat. So I figured, okay, CK always got picked on because he's a fat fuck. And he uses the Deadpit forum to get the power back that he never had. Well, he finally pissed Cody off. Cody said, fuck this shit, quit listening. Remember, I got an email from him, it shocked me. I quit listening to the show, fuck, he didn't say fuck those guys, but pretty much in those words said fuck those guys. And like I said, recently sent me all this stuff. Like I said, this is my extra. I got another one put up. Just a bunch of bullshit. It's interesting because it's kind of neat. I understand what they were going through. I grew up in a rural area myself. I was a horror fan. I wasn't into sports. I wasn't into hunting and fishing like these guys are not into any of that either. I think they're a little bit into basketball, which in Kentucky you kind of got to be. But, we're the oddballs. And that's what I connected with them on. Then they were just such assholes, especially CK. Like at one time they were talking about wanting to add more segments to the show. So I wrote in, I was like, hey, I know you don't read much. I read a lot of horror fiction. How about every episode I do like a 5 to 10 minute review of a horror fiction novel. And I'm not going to do like Stephen King and Barker. I'm going to do like other stuff, like authors that people might not have heard of. Never got a reply. talked to Uncle Bill about it and was told, yeah, it's a good idea, but CK don't want to do it because he doesn't like you. CK didn't like me because I call him on his shit on the forum constantly. He thinks he's the ultimate expert in horror films and wrestling and all this shit. And the guy, he knows a lot. I'll give him that. He knows a lot, but he's not the expert. Nobody's an expert on any of this shit, especially not this motherfucker. And this DVD, I mean, like I said, it wasn't worth the $15. And last time I looked on like Amazon, copies of this were going for like stupid. Like somebody's wanting like $50 or $60 for it. I know it's a limited print, but such a niche market, that I don't know who the fuck would want this, especially not at that price. As a matter of fact, this copy is being put in, after I finish this video, is being put in a box to be mailed off to another guy who used to listen to the shows, a friend of mine, who sometimes comments on these videos for him because I know he wants a copy. Just all kinds of just stupid shit. Like, they held a grudge against a bunch of different celebrities because the celebrity wouldn't give them an interview. I'll give another perfect example. Okay, Patricia Tallman. They've been trying to get Patricia Tallman on the show for a long time. Well, so it just so happens that they were trying to get her on the show, could never get in touch with her. They never got a response. I was going to the convention. I was like, hey, I got in touch with Uncle Bill. I was like, hey, I'm going to this convention. Patricia Tallman's going to be there. There was going to be a table there set up to put flyers on. How about, y'all send me some flyers or some info. I'll put it on the table and I'll talk to her, see if I can maybe talk her into coming on the show. Well, Uncle Bill said, okay, I'll talk to CK. CK messaged me saying, why don't you just print out the flyers yourself? I'm like, I ain't going to do that, but I will talk to Patricia Tallman. So at the convention, went to Miss Tallman's panel. And it was kind of odd because this convention is more of a sci-fi fantasy gaming convention. So everybody there was asking her questions about Babylon 5 and Babylon 5. I could kind of pick up on that she was tired of talking about Babylon 5. So I raised my hand and I was asking her what it was like to work with George Romero because she worked with him on Knight Riders, and then, which I think is her first movie. And then she worked with him a little bit on the Night of the Living Dead remake, Night 90. And she talked about that for a little bit. Well, the next day, I go up to her table, talk to her a little bit, get something autographed, and I mentioned, I said, yes, ma'am, one of the podcasts I listen to has been trying to get you on. I go, it's Deadpit.com, Deadpit Radio. And her exact words were, yeah, my publicist or my agent, I can't remember exactly which term she used, sent me a link to one of their episodes. I listened to it. The one guy seems like he hates all women. The other guy seemed okay, but I'm not going to do it because that one guy seems very anti-woman. So I got in touch with Uncle Bill and told him what she said. He's like, all right, I understand. And she was talking about CK being anti-woman. Well, then the next episode, CK was like, we don't want her on here anyway. I bet your titties look like tube socks full of meat. Yeah, that's how you get guests on a show, by insulting them. And I'll be first. I saw Miss Tallman in person, and she was probably, God, when I saw her, she's probably in her mid-40s, still a gorgeous woman. Just shit like that killed what at one time they could have expanded and made a big, probably made some decent money off the show, but they could have made even more, but they treated their fans like shit. And they had a good forum going, and they fucked it up. Especially CK. CK takes most of the blame. Uncle Bill is not blameless in this, but CK takes most of the blame. And almost everybody I know who listens to the show, you talk to them, they all quit around the same time because they just got tired of the bullshit. Got to where every episode was them bitching about, horror's been dead since 1990, nothing good's come out since then. They're, at least at the time, especially CK was stuck in the mindset of, if it wasn't a slasher, one from the 80s, he didn't want to talk about it. Then why have a fucking podcast? Yeah, there's only so much you could talk about the Friday 13th where people get tired of hearing this shit. And there's other shit they did, like, I know this for a fact. There was a guy who discovered their forum, started listening to the show, and this guy has Asperger's. I'm not going to say any names. Well, he traded off a bunch of stuff he had to get a bunch of wrestling tapes for CK, because CK was collecting them, mailed them to him, and all he wanted was a little reply from CK, say, hey, thank you for the tapes. So I'm like, CK never replied. Never said a word to him, and the guy got pissed off and was very upset about it. I did the same thing. I actually mailed them to a handful of stuff, like a couple things for CK, a couple things for Uncle Bill. Never got a reply. They didn't even mention it. Maggie, hush up. Until they used to have a call and I called in and I straight up asked, hey, did you get my package? And I got thanked then. But if I hadn't said nothing, they wouldn't do. And just all kinds of sleazy shit. Like CK made a video, which I've got to find it. I've got it saved somewhere, where he discovered a new bootlegging site, boys. It's got all this great stuff called New World something. It was CK bootlegging shit that the fans had sent in to him and trying to make money off of it. Well, of course, people found out, and he made enough enemies that he got reported to Disney and a few other companies shut down the site, and as of right now, he's still doing the shit on eBay. I don't know his eBay name right now. If I did, I'll put it in and don't buy from him because he's a piece of shit. But that's Into the Pit, the shocking story of Deadpit. For a documentary, if you find it for $1 or $2, pick it up if you're interested in documentaries about being an oddball in a southern town. That's worth it, but that's it. Cool cover, I'll give it that. It's got a really cool cover. Reminds me of the cover of Chillerama a little bit, but yeah, if you enjoyed the video, give me that thumbs up, leave a comment, subscribe, all the other bullshit. Talk to everybody later. Bye-bye.